Hello, and welcome to the Presstimator. In this video, I'll give you a brief introduction to the software so you can see how powerful the program is compared to your current system or your current spreadsheets. And I'll do that by guiding you through some of the features of the Presstimator. First of all, I'd like to start by telling you that the Presstimator is a database program, which means that all of your information is stored in a single location so multiple users can access it. That means you only need to update your current standards and your prices in one location instead of multiple spreadsheets. So this way you know that all of your quotes are accurate and using a single set of standards. It also means that all of your quotes and jobs are stored together in a single location as well for updating and for reporting purposes. On that note, let's get started with shop settings, as this is the place where you're going to enter your costs and standards, and it is how you will start to use the program. By clicking on shop settings, it brings up the screen and you can see all the different categories that are available, and this is where you're going to enter information about what you deal with in your shop, specifically in your shop. This way you don't have to go through lists of predetermined paper stocks and other information that you don't do within your shop. You just deal with information that you enter in your own shop settings. So an example of that is paper stocks. You would enter which paper stocks you deal with in your shop and what you pay for them, so we can use those when creating quotes. Another example is color ink. Tell us about what inks you deal with in your shop, your process color and spot colors, and what your costs are. And another example here is press. Tell us about the press lines you deal with in your shop. You can have multiple press lines if you want to have one for first shift versus second shift. And you can set that information up and then put in your hourly rates and information about other materials that the press uses. And then once this is set up, you can see all the different categories that are here. Once this is set up, anytime you create a new quote, it's going to use this information to generate an accurate quote for you. It also means that if there's any updates that need to be done, all you have to do is update the information in one place. And so like in paper stocks, if your paper provider or supplier tells you that there's an increase in a cost of paper, you just go to one place in shop settings, you enter what the cost is, and once you save it, all future quotes are going to be updated with that information. So you know that everybody is using the same set of standards and costs. So based on that, now that we're kind of done and you can see what shop settings entails, we can go ahead and create a new quote, and I'll guide you through that as well. Let's start by adding a new quote, and you can see how this all ties together. In this case, let's pretend that a customer is calling us and asking for a price on a job, and so in this case we're just going to give it a name. And you can see already from drop downs how information is being pulled from our shop settings as to what is available as a drop down choice throughout a quote. You also see in this case we're going to pick a customer from the drop down, as we have a customer list database as well, where we can pull customer information in and have some defaults set for them automatically as well. So once you have the job and the customer information set, the first thing we're going to go through is specs. And specs is where you're going to enter in what the job entails. It's geared more toward taking the information from the customer over the phone. You're not giving them a price yet, you're just getting the information about what they want as far as the job. In this case, we're just going to create a sample job here. We're going to say that they want 10,000 copies of a 12-page tab. It's going to be a 30-inch web width. Our cutoffs that we have for presses and sample data are 22 and 3/4 inch web presses. And you can also create multiple section jobs and enter in more complex jobs by running things collector straight as well. But in this sample, we're just going to keep it simple and just say that we have 10,000 copies of a 12-page tab. And then you're going to go across the specs tabs. These are what we call inner tabs, and just enter more specific information about what this job entails. Again, defaults are used, so I can create a quote already, or I can go through and make sure that the specifications that they want match what we have set up for the job already. In this case, our default is that everything is on 30-pound white newsprint, and you can make those modifications here if necessary. You can also split a section into multiple stocks. So let's say a customer wants 8 pages on 30-pound white newsprint, but then wants a half web with 4 pages of an offset or a book stock. You can enter that information here. So you can have very complex jobs by having multiple sections and multiple stocks within each section as well. And in this case, we're just going to keep this as 30-pound white newsprint and go along. So you're just going to go through the specs tabs and enter information. I'll jump ahead to ink. You can skip tabs that aren't that don't apply for a particular job if there's no plate changes, or in this case, let's just say that there is color ink in this job, and let's say that the customer wants to have process color, and they want color on all the pages, and we automatically fill out information for you there automatically. So there's lots of wizards that will help you set up a job. And once you go across and enter in each aspect of the job, all the way through delivery, what does the customer require? Once that's done, now all we want to do is we just want to match up what they want in this job, and then match those up with what we've set up as shop settings. And so we can just say load all defaults at this point, and what that will do is it will go through each one of these tabs and find corresponding match and shop settings and total up the information for you. So that quickly, we just created a quote by clicking on that, and I can quick view and just kind of see an overview right now of what the job entails. We can see the quote information and job information and some totals already of what the job is going to cost you to produce a job, and then what we can sell it for and what the profit and markup would be on those. We're actually done at that point, or you can go through and look at each one of the main tabs, and what that does is it shows you how we matched up the specs with the corresponding shop settings to come up with those totals that we just showed you. So in this case, we're going to go to the main paper tab, and here we're going to show you based on some defaults that you have in shop settings and what the costs you entered in shop settings, show you exactly what it's going to cost for you to produce that item and what the paper cost is going to be. And then you can go through and each one of these you can make modifications if you'd like to, or you can just go through and inspect the totals that we've calculated for you. In this case, ink, we show you all your black ink totals and matched up and found all your process ink and automatically calculated all of your ink totals as well. Same thing as you just kind of go through, and press is the same thing. We're going to show you based on your press information that you entered in shop settings and some defaults what the make ready and running time are, and at the bottom of the screen is going to show you the totals for each one of these categories, and the grids will show you a lot of detailed information as well, so you can actually see exactly what's going on. So the totals that you see on the summary page will make sense to you, and you can view them at any time. So let's jump ahead to summary. And the summary has inner tabs as well, and you can see that the first one is the auditor. What that does is it just kind of goes through all these tabs and makes sure you didn't miss anything. Is there a $0 somewhere? Is there a make ready that's missing? So this way, if you run the auditor, are you missing anything? Did you not account for something in this job that will cost you money? And once you're satisfied, we skipped ahead, so we have a couple of things that we should have entered here. But let's just skip ahead and say, yes, we've covered everything. So let's go to markup. And markup is where you're going to have different line items between materials and labor, and there's about 30 line items, and you can mark up each one of these line items individually to get a selling price. And we've also done things at the top and show you exactly what it cost you to produce the job, and then you can have your markup and see what your profit is. We give you lots of tools to make things very quick, so you can select a markup scheme and apply it, and that just went through and gave you a different markup to see what your margin would be on each item and what your profit would be. Or you can actually back into numbers and kind of say, what, on this job I want to have 20% profit, so I need to mark everything up 25%. Here's what my markup dollars are, and here's what my selling price is. Or you can just use a markup scheme that you've set up predetermined and apply that, and then automatically have it calculated for you. You can see that we also do additional thousands for you as well. So we're going to show you exactly what it costs to run another additional thousands of this job. And at the bottom of the screen, you can actually enter in multiple quantities. So if the customer asks for 10,000 copies, but also asks for a few more copies, in increments of 1,000, you can do that as well, and we'll automatically calculate. So a single quote can have not only multiple quantities, and actually can have not only multiple quantities, but also multiple page counts. So very complete and complicated quotes and very simple quotes can be handled very easily. We also do complete analysis and invoicing. We can interface with with your accounting software as well if you'd like to do that. And we also do actuals. You can capture actuals, so what happened on the production floor, and feed that information back in. One of the big things of the Presstimator is, that we have this quote that's generated, is now we want to create some reports on it. You can print any of the screens, but you can also do quote reports, and in this case you can create a quote for a customer. There's different formats of it. You can do invoicing and job tickets, skid tags, materials report, and all this information can be generated directly off this quote without having to go into another system and enter that information. All of our reports go either out to Word or Excel. So in this case, this report went out to Word. Here's your sample cover letter that it created. That's totally customizable. You can have your logo and anything here. And then here's the job information based on what we entered in the job. Here's the what they requested. Here's what the total cost is. Here's also those multiple quantities that they requested as well. So they can actually pick and choose and see the totals as well. Along with that, we can also do actuals, as I had mentioned. So you can go in and enter specific, once the job is completed, you can enter in what actually happened on the press room floor. So you can capture paper and press time, start capturing some waste values and wasted time, and start to track that as well. And anytime you save a quote, it goes into the quote history. The quote history will not only store your quotes, but will also store those quotes that have become jobs, right? Not every quote becomes a job. So you can track that and see your job history. You can filter them by any criteria that you want to get a list here. And there's reports that are generated off of those as well. So reports include customer analysis reports, profit analysis, where we'll generate a report that will go out to Excel, and based on that list, filtered list there, you can actually see what is your profit and overall profit, and then based on each job, how are you doing compared to what your cost is versus what are you selling the job for. And also you can do other reports as well, profit analysis and estimate analysis, and even a total usage report. You can say over this filtered list over this month, what are the total materials that we use in total time, and it will generate that for you as well. Tell you exactly how much newsprint you've used, how many impressions you've created, how much ink you've used, and throughout every aspect of the shop, and tell you, break down exactly what went on in the shop during that period of time based on those quotes. And we also provide lots of charts in Excel as well to kind of show you again what's going on in the shop based on those jobs that you've selected. That kind of wraps up and kind of shows you exactly, just simply, how once you have your shop settings set up, then all you have to do is enter in specs of a job, and then you can generate quotes and how to store them and recall them, and you can bring up any existing quote and make any modifications as necessary. Another feature that I can show you very quickly is in a browser, if you want to have some sales staff enter quotes instead of training them on the Presstimator, you can set up a customizable web form, which you can have in any browser, and you can customize it for the either customer service representative or salesperson to enter in just specific information, just drop downs, and then when they submit that when they click the submit button, it will actually send it to the estimator, and they can import that into the Presstimator as a quote, so they don't have to rekey anything in. They can start off with this information and generate a quote. And you can even have a copy of this or another version of this on your website, so potential customers can come in and enter in job information and submit it, and then the estimator can come in and use that information to generate a quote. The idea is to get generating quotes very quickly, very accurately, using a single set of shop settings and giving multiple users access to the system, so you can do things quickly. Another example of that is when I showed you that we actually calculate actuals. This is a small application that can go out onto the press room floor, where a pressman can actually put in or just click the now button to record their make ready times, the running times and startup counters and ending counters, so that information can get fed when they save that information from the press room floor. That automatically goes back into the Presstimator and populates the actuals fields, so then you can do an analysis on the actuals, and so you can have an analysis of what is happening on the press room floor compared to how you are estimating. And there's lots of sheets here that will show you actual breakdown of press details and what's going on, and charts and based on press and paper usage, so you can see all that information. So those are additional features and add-ons to the Presstimator that you can use or not use, but that just kind of gives you a general overview of how the Presstimator will work and how powerful it can be compared to what you're currently using.